you so much for being part of this session after lunch and the second to last session. But we're so very excited to be here today. My name is Michelle Mitchell. I am the disability service provider at Lehigh Carbon Community College and also the part-time program director of the Cede program. And we are here today to be able to just have a real conversation about real stories and real lives and how these inclusive higher education programs have helped open doors and change stories for individuals with disabilities in going to college. I'm not going to talk much. My job and Everett's job is basically to facilitate the conversation with these three folks. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and who they are, what major they're in, and what semester they are at LTRI-C. So go ahead.
All right. My name is Jeffrey Baser. I don't even know what to call myself. I'm a second year at LTRI-C, and I'm into second year, and I'm going into second year Cede student as well. I'm also a mathematics major.
My name is Lisa Quay. I'm also a second year student, well, entering as my second year at LTRI-C. I'm a biology major, planning on eventually transferring back to a four-year college and going into genetic engineering and biotechnology, and that's it.
You want to use that other mic? Because I'm going to slide.
No.
We'll put it back so that we can hear Jacob.
Hi, I'm Ben Shore, and I am going into my second year at LTRI-C and my fourth semester at Cede, and I'm a gaming and programming major.
And Everett.
I can use this.
Okay.
I'm Everett Diebler. Some of you may have seen me here eating butter in other sessions. For those of you that were here, okay, I do have a professional job that's real, and it's working with Michelle at Lehigh Carbon Community College, also in disability support services, and one of my roles there is to support the Cede program and to advise the college on accessibility of our facilities and our courses and different things. So I'm honored to be here to help facilitate this.
So to give you some technical information, we do have the information in front of you on the tables, but we're not going to talk about that today because we really want to hear from the students. And we're going to start first with the student who could not be here and who is on the video screen. So we're going to go ahead and play that, and then the rest we'll be discussing with our three students here. Thank you, Liesl.
All right, so what's your name?
No.
Jacob Tashler.
All right, Jake, so tell me a little bit about what your high school experience was like for you.
Awful, terrible, just kidding, not that bad. Smart kid, always try to do my best, A's and B's. The biggest problem for me is, like I was explaining, I look normal, but I did not act normal. I was bullied a lot, I was treated terribly, but, I got by. It wasn't terrible. Sure, some things, hurt, but it's whatever.
So you didn't feel like you really had a place there?
No, I had a place. I had my own safe haven. There was a group of, I forget their name exactly, but there was a group of these women who, were the people who were in the room with, depending upon the class you were in. And these women I always visited every day, and they made me feel at home. They made me feel like I actually had a place when I felt out of place in the normal school environment.
Okay, but there were workers of the school.
Yeah, they were like your caseworkers in a sense. That's the word I couldn't think of. They were your caseworkers, and a few of them I got really close to, and they kept me comforted my entire 4 years I was there.
Okay. So, but all in all, with the actual peers and in the classroom.
I didn't have many. Okay. I did not have many peers. I had maybe just a few friends. That was it.
Okay. So, how did you hear about the Cede program, or who heard about the Cede program?
There was a sheet that was in my backpack that my mom pulled out, and she said, "What's this?" And I explained it to her, and I told her that I wasn't going to do it regardless. And my mom said, "Too bad, you're going anyway." And ever since I've done that, I have loved being here since I started in the summer of 2015. It felt nice.
So it was your mom, though, who was pretty much like...
Yeah, it was my mom. She found the sheet in my backpack and was like, this will be a perfect opportunity for you. We're going to give it a shot. And sure enough, I fell in love with it ever since.
So when your mom had said this was something that you were going to do, was college ever really something you thought that you wanted to do?
So my original goal was very similar to my older brother's. I was going to graduate from high school, take a year off, get a job, and then go to college afterwards. And when I talked with my mom about it, she was right the whole time. My mom told me, she said, you go get a job, you will never go to college. You will never want to go to college. So you're going into this. And my mind was no. And I finally did. And it was one of the smartest decisions I ever made.
So what makes you say that? That was one of the smartest decisions you ever made?
Because if my mom knows me and I know my mom, she would be 100% right. If I never came to college, I never would have. I never would have came to college. I would have had a 9-to-5 job that was probably terrible. I would probably have been miserable my whole life. And it was thanks to her that, and my father as well, that I went to college and got a degree, because that honestly in the back of my mind makes me want to pursue even a higher degree. That in the back of my mind 4 years ago would have been like, you're not doing this. This is a terrible idea. Your mind changes over how many years?
Absolutely. What makes you think that what made you think beforehand that it was a terrible idea to go to college? Why?
Because I didn't feel like it was going to benefit me. I thought, these people go for these college degrees and they end up stuck sitting there looking for jobs for hours, months, years, weeks even, and just struggle. And I was like, why would I want to do that? Now that I've grown up by a couple of years and see I'm in their position, now I see what you mean to try and get a good job, educate yourself, learn as much as you can, and try to strengthen yourself. I honestly like that more than just finding a regular job that's not something I want.
So you started July of 2015 in the summer bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your initial thoughts when you were first started?
This is going to be terrible. I'm being honest, my first time here, I was like, I looked around and I was like, this is just going to be like high school. This is going to be bad. And as the months grew by, towards August, and I remember I had to get all the homework done before I went on vacation, it turned out to be one of the greatest experiences I ever had. After high school left a bad impact, a bad taste in my mouth, and as soon as I reached this college level, it was perfect. It was a lot of things that I had hoped for. It made me feel homey, welcome. It taught me, how I can do my schoolwork with a bit of guidance that I can receive, and I blew up from there.
So what are some of the things that made it better? Like, made you feel like, wow, this is my place, this is where I need to be?
It mostly has to do with support. A lot of it is, even for me myself, I need that motivational factor because I don't have a whole lot of it. And even the students that I met and became friends with, and the teacher that I had, still remember her name very well, it was that motivational and support that made me started pushing myself harder and harder, and I started doing the work then on my own as I started growing older. I started requiring less and less help. And overall, I believe, even not just for myself or anybody else, it begins to strengthen that person. It begins to show what you are truly capable of, if that makes sense.
I think it does. So what you're saying then, it sounds like, is that you were challenged in a good way with the right support then to allow yourself to blossom and become who you are today.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think.
So what would you say, you've been at Cede now since 2015 and now it's 2019.
Almost 2020, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say were the positive factors that allowed you to get your associate's degree in, what is your associate's degree?
My associate's degree is in business management.
Business management, that's right. So what would you say were some of the positive things that allowed you to get to that point?
The hard work. All the hard work and the motivation, like I mentioned, because if not for that, I would not be where I am today. Constantly going through, trying to think off the top of my head, kind of going through every semester when classes are getting harder and harder and harder, I always doubted myself. I always thought, I'm never going to pass this class. I always struggled. I was super stressed, even towards the end of the semester when I know I have a good grade and I know I've studied. That motivational support, my peers and my coaches telling me, you can do this, you got this, you're super smart, you're capable of it. It triggered something in the back of my brain towards the end of college where I realized There is no reason to be nervous anymore. You do have this, you're doubting yourself. Stop doubting yourself. Finally, after start doubting myself, my grades never dropped below B's. They were all, the majority of them were A's, and I told myself, you are capable of doing this.
So the encouragement that you got helped you to see just exactly what you could do.
And the determination and the hard work, because
Yeah.
like anybody else tells you, you can't get anywhere without hard work. You've got to work hard.
So, Jake, you said that in high school you had a very small group of peers, and
Very
most of your connection was with the workers that were part of this school.
Yeah, the majority it was them.
What is it now in college?
More friends. As I've grown older, I've kind of broken out of the shell a bit and have made more friends who, are just like me, or made friends I'd never think I'd make. Because at the end of the day, when you're going to college, everybody's aiming for the same thing. Everyone's aiming for a college degree, but you can do that together as friends. I've met so many people in the past 4 years that every time, and I'm gonna make a little joke out of this, that every time I go down the hallway, whenever I'm with one of my friends, I'm like, oh hey, oh hey, oh hey, and they're like, how many people do you know here? I'm like, it's because I have a personality, it happens. But from high school to college, high school went from maybe 4 or 5 few good friends that I could trust, and now it went to about 30, 40 friends that I've become good friends with. I keep in touch with them. For example, there's a girl I went to high school with. I've kept in touch with her. She's now married and has 2 kids, and I still keep in touch with her very well. So, just as a key example.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can say that your teachers that you've known in the past who see you now say what?
They're thrilled. They're so impressed. They went from this person who was, I wouldn't say shy, just very nervous, always anxious, to this adult now who's just like, what happened to him? Like, how did you get there? And I was like, hard work, dedication, a lot of motivation, and to just start realizing that there's nothing to be nervous about anymore. You can do anything you set your mind to as long as you just put it in your mind and you just think really hard.
Now, if you didn't have the Cede program when you first started, do you think that you would have been here sitting like you are today?
No. I probably would still be pursuing my accounting degree and failing miserably and falling apart. I remember when I first started and had my accounting degree, it's because I was good at accounting in high school. And what happened as I reached in college, I believe, is it's a lot rougher, it's a lot more tough, and they're not as forgiving. So with that in my mindset, when I first came here, and the anxiety that I was getting as I was just failing test after test after test, I started to realize that, yeah, I love accounting, but this just isn't right for me. I realized that what is it that I truly love? And thank goodness that I took a couple of classes and finally figured it out what I want to do. That's the one thing I was telling people is, and sorry if I get sidetracked, but the one thing I'm telling people is, you're not going to know what you want to do when you enter college. You can enter, it doesn't matter where you go. You might find a class or you might find something down the road that someone tells you about that you might fall in love with and you never realized it. Key example for me, I went for accounting, and then as soon as I took a human resources class and I took a psychology class, I was like, I love this. That's something I like. Even business law, I love business law. But I went to human resources, and that's why I thought about pursuing a degree in psychology for bachelor's, because it changed.
Yeah. So experience helped you to really see what your internal passion is.
Absolutely.
That's great. So you're in the job searching process now.
Yes, absolutely.
What experiences do you think through Cede have helped you to be prepared for that?
The majority of that is with the coaches, basically helping and guiding me to show what it's like to be in a job searching process, what you have to do about it, how to build your resume. Even the schools, even the school here helped me with the resume, still incredibly helpful, but even with them, having a resume built, having a cover letter to be super safe, and even though some don't ask for it, it's always nice to have that extra step. And overall, it's as bland as possible. It's just basically these several amounts of steps to help guide in that searching process, mostly with how do you go about an interview? How does your resume look? Should I double check it, triple check it, things of that nature, having a cover letter, and anything else specifically needed. And with those skills that I got, I was able to, within the first week, had 2 job offers. offered to me.
And how about the job that you currently do for L-Tri-C?
I can't speak. The job that I do right now for the College of L-Tri-C, when I need it, I'm trying to think, I'm having a brain fart now. Basically, the way I go about it is, I came up to you, and we made this position. This wasn't a position up at the school. I wanted to help students the way I got help when I came here, when I was in high school, when I graduated and went to college. I don't ever like seeing these students, or seeing any student for that matter, fall behind or even struggle from anxiety, things like that, because that's what I struggled with as I grew older. So what better way than to come up with an idea to basically help the students the way that I got help, making them feel more comfortable, having that social aspect to kind of branch some of them out of their shell. And it was a job that I loved and always still will love since I started it 2 years ago.
And do you think that helped in any way with your current job search?
Absolutely. This kind of, now with every job search, you're not going to create a job, but I know with getting a job and kind of figuring out how it is to get a job, it kind of helped me with searching, because with this one, it shows to me, okay, I can get a job. It's just that, how do I go about it now when I leave and enter the real workforce? And that kind of helped me transition. So now I know what to look for. I know what it is I love to do. And now how do I just go about it?
Great. All right. Thank you, Jake, for taking your time to...
All right. So that was Jake, and I'm sorry that we couldn't do it in the format that we'll do it here now, by asking individual questions, but I thought that it was a pretty good interview and provided some good overview. But we will now let you all tell your stories. So why don't we start with Ben? And Ben, can you tell us about your previous high school experience and how that was different to Cede and how Cede's helping you now?
You mean like my high school experience and like how it's different from Cede,
Yeah,
or
how it's different
okay,
from college and
okay. So I had a weird high school experience. I was at a boarding school, so it was off in Illinois, and they were, how do I put this? They were helpful but not helpful. So they would push my problems aside. They would say, oh, we'll get to you, go fix it, and if you can't fix it, come back and we'll help you. But when I went to fix it, it would only make it worse. So problems here at Cede get handled when if they teach me how to, if I go and say, hey, I have a problem, they'll say, okay, here's how you handle it, and then here's a follow-up step. So rather than just saying go fix it, they'll say, here's how you can handle it, if that makes sense. So here's a solution.
okay. How about either Liesl or Jeff? What previous educational experiences and how they're different or the same as Cede?
Okay, I went to a Christian high school. It was Lehigh Valley Christian High School. The problem is that due to the lack of more people going to cyber, free cyber schools, a lot of and the teachers aren't being paid as well. We've been having a lot of lack of teachers that were actually properly trained in that specific field. Like I had a physics person who I think was a physics engineer for a chemistry teacher who absolutely had no idea how to teach chemistry. It was bad. But besides that, so there was issues with that type of stuff, just getting the proper education to get a proper foundation to learn stuff in college. But there was an issue entering my senior year of high school where, how to best explain this? I had a migraine. I get severe migraines, but this one was really bad, and it took me out of school from starting November 19th, and I didn't go back to school until January. And what was worse is that it had a lot of symptoms similar to that of a concussion. So I had trouble focusing back when I got into school. I couldn't, really do a lot of stuff, and that continued on into college. And what's worse is unlike in high school where the teachers, have time to help you more, in college you don't really have that support base. I went to Cedar Crest first. So before the migraine thing hit, I was doing well. I was, getting A's, consistently. I was in like honor roll or high honor roll consistently. But the problem was afterwards I had trouble keeping up my grades, and the problem was when I went to college, it's just completely different, from when you were in high school. And then I just couldn't handle Cedar Crest. So at the time, I went to LTRC, where you're not quite as pressured to do everything within a certain amount of time. Like at Cedar Crest, you're constantly, if you feel the pressure to get completed in 4 to 5 years. At LTRC, you don't really have that. And then we discovered the Cede but I still had trouble getting work done, and my procrastination issues were like horrible. But then we decided to join Cede because my neighbor actually suggested this. Well, she's not quite a neighbor, but she knows Michelle. Her name was Winona Chappelle, and she's like, "Here, let me make a phone call." And next thing I know, it's like, next thing I know, I get another phone call from Mrs. Chappelle, and she's like, "Here, fill out this form and send it in. And if you get it in soon enough, we can get you joined in the middle of the year." So, and now I'm here, and I've gotten B's and C's where I was like getting D's before in college.
Before we had the next person answer, the video man in the sky up there asked if we could use the wireless mic to pass along. I think it's easier for them to pick it up.
Oh, then this one.
No,
Okay.
use this one.
Yeah, not that one, Ben.
Ben,
The
don't.
one in Everett's hand.
So you didn't hear any of my answers?
No, he did.
Oh.
But he was saying it would be better if you use that.
All right. So my name is Jeff, as I've already stated earlier. My high school experience was pretty much the average high school experience. However, I didn't really have any friends. Unlike the guy in the video, I was not bullied. I just felt ostracized wherever I was, always alone, and just never really had any real friends save for a couple. When I left, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. There, everything that went wrong went wrong. It basically, I had no will to work. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just not fun. The first semester I was able to pull it off with 3 C's and 2 B's. Granted, one of those C's was English. Don't like that at all. Then the following semester, it ended up getting further with a D and an F in the 2 fields that I should be my strongest in. I eventually stopped. My parents pulled me out because we thought we had a lack of funding. Didn't. And because my mom works for LTRC and has been involved with the program here in the past as part of the interview process, she would help. She told me about it, and I joined in.
How has it helped?
It
Or not helped?
It helped me a lot, in all honesty. It allowed me to make actual friends, people I can go to and talk to, unlike in high school where pretty much any emotion I held was in myself. It did not help matters that in high school my parents divorced. That threw everything out of whack, and it was just terrible.
Can I make a comment on that? Yeah, I also didn't have a lot of friends in high school. I was one of those people that was like, we were called friends, but we never really hanged out at school. I was not invited to things. Though when I went to the Cede program, which is the program when they do it in the middle, like after the fall semester Cede, like in between the fall and the spring semester, his group adopted me within 5 minutes.
It was fast.
It was fast and it was awesome, and we are friends forever.
Do you want me to comment on this, or are we moving to the next question?
Do you have something to say about that?
Not really.
And let Everett ask.
I can ask the next question
You
then.
guys should be thinking about questions, okay? So if you have something, please raise your
Yeah,
hand, and Joshua will bring the microphone.
Yeah, even if you have one, anybody have any questions now as we're sitting here? No? Okay. If you do, please let us know.
Yeah,
Raise your
we
hand.
want you to grill them. So.
Yeah, we want you to learn as much as you can from these lovely people because what they have achieved is great, and they can be a wealth of information. Achieved. Okay, so the next question is, and I think, Lisa, you might have addressed this with Miss Chappelle, right? Is that how you say her last name? Did I get that?
Chappelle,
Yeah. Okay, but if you could talk more, or everybody on the panel could talk more about when you thought about college, who brought it to your attention, and what did you think college would be like? Do you want to go first, Ben?
No, because you just combined two of the questions.
Okay.
It's hard. So you can go first.
Okay.
So who told you about college, Mr. Pell, right?
Well, actually, I was already at LTRC at the time before I heard about Cede. I did not know Cede existed during my first class at LTRC. I took a history course before my official, what we would consider my first semester because that was the only class I took. And it just was so I was having trouble with calculus and stuff, but I just could not handle calculus at the time. But hey, I took trig a couple weeks ago and I got an A. Yes. And it's just with my help. Yes, with your help. Yes, I know. Besides, we were having trouble. We were wondering if I should even be in college anymore because we were having I was having so much trouble with my executive functioning abilities. Keeping track of things, getting, homework done and remembering when tests are and studying for them. When we were talking to Mrs. Chappelle, we used to babysit me when I was little, and she's also my sister's, my older sister's 8.5 years older than me, educational counselor person. So we were asking her for my mom was asking her for advice, and then she's like, well, there's Cede, and we're like, what's that? And she's like, it's like learning support, but in college it's like, say what now? I'm interested. Please tell me more here. So, and then she's like, give me a moment, let me call some people. And then next thing I know, here's, and then next thing I know, she said, she called me, like, I've emailed you guys the form, fill out the form, send it in, and then we can get you in there. And I do not regret it for a minute.
What do you think college was going to be like?
I was expecting college to be more like high school, but on my own. But I wasn't expecting it to be so many classes, so late, so much, time, where before I used to be able to, I could get through any test in high school without studying, and now it's like, oh yeah, you actually have to read the book because this stuff isn't in your book, but we didn't mention it in class.
All right, so for me, I never really thought about this place initially. I always wrote it off because of my mother, and quite frankly because of the divorce, and it caused it basically I wanted to distance myself from this place. I still do want to distance myself. However, at the time, yes, I do, but at the time, I was going away for all the wrong reasons. And quite frankly, now I'm starting to see a clearer path than what I originally had. I didn't have much information, despite the fact my parents were both education majors and work in education. I wish my parents understood more my side of things and backed off. One of them thankfully did. The other one I'm still having problems with.
Ben has the question, or you want to make sure you answered it?
So who told you about Cede?
So it was actually my mother told me about Cede, and it's like, you should do this after the failure of Pitt. So I came here, and I went through the Cede Bridge program, and that was that.
Okay, Ben has the...
Jamie Nyman over the phone, and that's how I found out, and then I thought I was going to be at high school. And
And we have a question in the audience.
Question in the audience. Josh, want to run it over there?
Go, Josh.
Use those track skills, Joshua.
We timed Adam, and you're faster than he is.
I just wondered if you stay on campus or do you commute?
Hold on. Josh, we got to take that back. You're the runner, man.
Run!
So we commute to the program. It's not a boarding school, or we don't board there. But when you say do we stay there, we have a lounge on campus. So that's not really what you're asking, but we stay there all day, but we can go back and forth. So you drive there. Like you can like drive a car if you have a license, take a bus, Uber or Lyft. Yes, thank you. And then yeah. So but yes, it's like you commute.
Free taxi of your parents.
Okay. It's a commuter college. It's a community college. So the only way, there's no dorms on campus. There's nowhere to stay on campus. But as I was specifying. So as he was saying, we use the Cede Lounge as almost like a home base for the day. Like we go there, then we go to our classes, or we go there after our classes, or we just go in between classes. So yeah. And we don't just, study there. We also play games. We socialize. So much as he says, so much
It's the loudest part of the library. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah. The poor librarians.
They love you.
Did you all join?
Oh, they love me.
Did you all join any clubs or any other activities on campus besides the Cede Lounge?
Sorry. Do you want me?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want me?
There are clubs. I don't know any of them because I don't have the sheet. But there's one club that is not technically a club. It's like how do I put this? Basically, people have made their own club about video games, but they don't have a time. So it's just whenever they show up, and I can't figure out their schedule. Do you know the schedule? No, nobody knows their schedule. I just
I know there are different clubs.
Okay, can you name them?
Okay. There's the STEM club, which is for the science, technology, engineering, math people. There's also an anime club for people who love anime. And if anyone doesn't know what anime is, those are Japanese animated shows. There's different clubs depending on what you want to do. I can't remember them all. I know there's a Christian fellowship club. I don't know if there's an actual D&D club on campus officially.
You guys were supposed to start it.
Officially.
Isn't there LGBTQ?
Probably. There probably is one. I don't know if that's actually technically a club.
Okay, you don't have to name them all. It's fine.
Hey.
I know.
While personally I'm not part of any clubs, I do go out shooting myself. Archery. I'm an archer. And I make sure and that's pretty much my club, but it's not so much.
Have you taken other students with you?
I have. In fact, she's gone shooting, and I'm trying to get the guy in the video to go shoot too.
Other questions? Did I see a hand?
Question. Person.
You gotta hand it to Joshua so he can run the mic. No, we're not allowed to use that one.
Yeah, I got the mic.
Oh, can we use that one? Okay. I can actually speak very loud. It was working
Hi, I came in just a couple minutes late. I was wondering if you might have already discussed this, but I was wondering if you could describe what the Cedes program is, what it does, or the Bridge program. I heard somebody use that word too.
Thank you. Okay. Hi. Wait. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like a hello. No, this is not gonna work. I'm gonna have to move this. Can you just hand me that? Tell me if this.
Do you need this mic?
Yeah. Yeah. This is. No, it's on.
I'm
It's
just
just I
gonna go
can't
bring
tell
it
if it works. Hello. Is that good? No, I'm just making sure. Okay. What was the question? It was.
wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the Cedes program or the Bridge program that you guys were talking about.
I'll do Bridge. You do Cede. Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, okay, it's working now.
I'll do Bridge. You do Cede. Bridge is the intro program to Cede. So in order to get into Cede, you have to. It's like it's an actual class you take over the summer. So Bridge is like it's taught by an actual professor, and it's all the new students go into this class and you take the course. I don't know I don't think anyone's failed it, so I don't know if you fail it. I don't know if you take it again or if they just evaluate. But it's basically study skills and like teamwork and all the things that Everett did today, like kind of like intro college things, like how to send an email, all the basic stuff, and like they show you the campus, it's college stuff, and that's Bridge, and then. No, mine does not. So I don't know if they can, but
He paid for it.
The price of the Cede program is not brought on by the school district.
it's on one of those papers that I passed on the tables.
It is actually based on the user. So if I decide to go for it, I have to pay an extra amount of money on top of tuition to be able to get services from the program. Or you can also get financed through financial aid and scholarships.
Wait, not paying for it, but I have OVR, so.
Joshua,
Sorry.
Everett wants to say
I raised my hand because I'm like, I know OVR.
So as of right now, and Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong, but as of right now, OVR will only cover the cost of tuition, so the base cost of tuition. They will not, at this time, cover the cost of the extra cost of the Cede program. Or CTP. There's different tracks that students can enter in after Bridge. The students actually go through Bridge and then do some person-centered planning to look at what their goals are, where they want to be, and then selecting a track, and that determines the cost of the program based on that. But OVR can only cover the cost of tuition if they're degree seeking, and if they're in the career track, that's on the papers in front of you. OVR can actually cover all of that or most of. Yeah, yes. The max of what OVR, because OVR has a cap of what they can spend on college, and they will give the max for the career track that's there.
Okay, so I'm the one stuck describing what Cede is. Okay. So Cede, what we do in Cede, is that what the question is?
Yes. What's the program?
Okay. Cede. Okay. Have any of you guys know learning support in high school? You all know that? It's very similar to that, but you have to ask more for what you want. It's not like, but they will hover over you depending on what you are, depending on if you ask them, because they will hover over me because I told them that I have issues with procrastination, which means they were like, "Have you done this yet?"
Your Spanish homework?
Amen. Like that, I'm saying. Let me give it, as he just mentioned, my Spanish homework. There's no word to describe the evilness of my Spanish homework. Sorry. There were almost 80 assignments due every month. That's why it's evil. Per chapter.
Hey,
Per chapter.
Can you, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Can you quiet down your?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so because it's like, okay, how am I going to get all this done? It's like that's your immediate thought. So Jamie is my, what's our official term? Coach? Yes, that's the term. Thank you. And she would literally put it in like a spreadsheet saying, okay, you did this many on this day, this many on this day, and this many on this day. So that way it's much more manageable. Hello? Much more manageable and not like, oh my gosh, I have 80 assignments due in like 3 weeks. What am I going to do? They will also help me study for tests and help me with homework if I ask, and also to show me resources where I need to go to them. Like when I absolutely did horribly on a biology test, I asked, is there any place that can teach me study skills, because I never really had to study when I was in high school. And suddenly you're in college and you're like, okay, you don't just get the stuff in lecture, you also need to read the book and get the stuff from the book. So she's like, well, there's a test specialist testing skills specialist in such and such a room. Let me email her. And next thing I know, I have an appointment. I'm meeting with her weekly. And next thing you know, I'm actually doing much better on tests. So there's even if the Cede Lounge does not have the resources you need, they will help you find the resources somewhere else on campus. Anyone else want to talk?
No,
No, I'm good.
Did I pretty much cover everything?
yeah, you did. Well, there was another question in the audience, though. So
Yes.
and like to Joshua. So we can.
It's on.
There were 2 questions. Yeah.
How many students are in Cede at any given semester?
That would be a Michelle.
This is a Michelle question.
So we have 12 this past fall. Wait, where are we at? No, we're going into fall. Spring. We had 12 this past spring.
We have 15.
We had 15 before that, and we are moving into 27 starting this fall if everyone returns.
So it changes from semester to semester, but we are seeing an increase.
Yeah, it changes from semester to semester, but we are seeing an increase. And certainly our goal is to provide the support and the services that students need, but not to keep them there forever. We eventually do want to kick them out of the nest if that's possible, because we want to see them flourish and be able to take these skill sets that they've learned and move them forward to other people and other situations and those types of things.
That's 12 people plus Mo, right?
What?
12 people plus Mo.
Oh, 12 pieces, yeah, tell them about that.
12 people plus Mo. Okay, sorry, this is hilarious. In our group, like, we kind of hang out in, like, different groups, and the group that I'm in, which includes Ben, Jeff, and Jake, also has this one person, and Michael, I think, sometimes. Michael every so often. So often we'll have this guy who's not actually in Cede, but still hangs out here because he likes us and we help him with stuff, and he's actually awesome. His name is Mo, but he's not actually in part of Cede, but he kind of is there.
He was in he was in the bridge program initially, but his dad didn't really see the cost of Cede being beneficial.
But see, we didn't kick him out.
He's an honorary Cede member.
Wait.
I'll just say that's one of the benefits of having a program like this, the way that it's set up, that there is the structured study lounge. It is not just for Cede students to hang out there. They're bringing their friends back there. They're playing games. They're doing homework. They got their tutors are back there. Maybe another support staff might be back there depending on the day. I know I'm there sometimes. So whatever. Everybody's like whatever. I just sit at the desk and wave. No, I'm kidding.
And we're connecting them with other college
resources. Yeah, so Lisa kind of talked about this too, right? Where it's like students have meetings with their coaches pretty regularly, and then if there is a need to connect them to services or point them in the right direction, the coaches have access to that and know where to go. And so, like Lisa said, it's almost like, oh, I have an appointment now. Okay, cool. Or help me get an appointment, and then everybody gets connected to the things they need to be successful at L-Tri-C.
Part of the thing that I want to make sure we emphasize too is that it is all student driven. So if Jeff here said, forget that appointment, I'm not going to it, I don't really want to do that, we're not going to be like, well, I don't care. You're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
They're college students now. They're adults. They get to make those decisions. And if they say, I'm not going to do any homework for the next 2 months,
that is their choice.
we can say, well, that's not a really good idea, and this is what the consequences of that's going to be, and please make sure you relay that at home because we don't want your parents coming back saying, why didn't you help follow up with them? But, ultimately it's their choice, and
Right.
so we definitely never want to lose sight of student first mindset and decision making.
Any other questions in the audience?
Question in the back. Ooh, there you go.
We're getting it down, Josh. We're getting it down.
So the person in the green lime shirt actually was waiting a little bit, and then the person in the back.
Thank you. I'm an educator. I think probably there's a number of educators in the room today. Do you have advice to us about maybe at the high school level what we could have done better to make your high school experience more enjoyable and or to assist you in entering college, making that process easier?
That's a hard one. So what do you mean by advice? Like, you got to give me some more background on that.
So as a teacher, what could I do better to make so that I hear a little bit that maybe you had some bad parts of your high school experience. So what could I have done better to perhaps help
Okay.
you?
I got two things right here. So I just asked if you could rephrase the question. That was my way of saying, could you rephrase the question? So I sometimes I have trouble wording certain things. So so it depends on the student. Each student is individualized. So if you got to teach your classroom, sorry, I can't tell you how to do your job, but you should teach your class. Sorry, I think the best way to teach a classroom is to think of each student as an individual rather than the classroom as a whole. So each student has their individual needs. So if one student has trouble wording their questions, you can just as they can say, "Can you repeat the question?" You can say to them, "Can you rephrase your sentence?" So it works both ways. You have the right to ask them, "Can you repeat themselves?" just as they have the right to ask you to repeat yourself. I think that's key step one. Jeff, you got anything else?
For me, it would honestly be avoid group projects. It'll end up. This is probably coming from other people don't like this either, but it'll usually end up being with one of us either feeling ostracized from everyone who has their friends, flocking to each other with that one kid being alone, to they're put into a group of people that they cannot stand. And in all honesty, in that case, I once took a failing grade because I couldn't stand the people I was working with.
So here's an alternative to that. I can't make you say, Jeff, we can't say no group projects. That's not physically possible.
You can't actually say no group projects.
So ask this.
Even in college, we have group projects. It's called lab.
So ask the student who would they prefer to work with. I think that's if there's a student with autism in your class, say, hey, before even assigning the group project, come up to them, prepare them for the group project, say, hey, we're having a group project tomorrow. Who would you like to work with? Is there someone you prefer working with out of the other students? And I think that would help them be more comfortable knowing that there's a project coming up and knowing having them prepared, knowing who they're going to work with. I think that's a good plan.
This is a better question for my mother. Sorry. My mother has taught both at college. She used to teach at LTRC many, many years ago, but she currently teaches at Northern Lehigh High School. So she would be a perfect person to ask because she's also used to dealing with me. But my thing is that one of the main issues is that there's such a striking difference between how you learn things in high school than how you learn things in college and how you do stuff in college. Like, in high school, you're pretty much fed everything you need to know, like from your lecture, from the thing, without, I'm automatically told, like, you need to read this if you have to read this, and then you go over it in class. In college, there's a little bit of that, but not quite to the extent, and there's a lot of stuff you have to do on your own. Which is you don't really experience a lot in high school. My mom sometimes does that in high school, and most of the students look at her like, "Why are you doing this to us?" And then they go to college and they're like, "Oh, that's why."
Thank you. Well, my name is Taylor. I went to a virtual charter school with some on-site experiences for high school, but I'm now starting at college, Delaware County Community College. While I was not bullied in school, I was very lonely, and so kind of what I want to do is start up a sort of social program, I guess, for support and as well as recreation. Right now I'm in a community college where it's small and not really there's a lot there, but I'm next semester hoping to transfer over to a university. I don't see any programs like that, at least none where you don't have to pay, but I was wondering if any advice for someone who would want to start up a program for support or recreation, and well, I guess I don't know where to go from there.
So he's asking if we'd want to do that.
Have any advice?
Oh,
I do.
Wanted to start that.
I do. There are actually some programs already like that out there in certain places. I remember we were just actually, okay, where are you? Over there. You guys. Can someone please bring, they have a program, was it SIL? Yeah, they actually were just trying to get me and Jeff to join their social program where they actually do this stuff. I do it where I get social therapy, which is social social skills and stuff like that. And we do that sometimes. We will do that. We literally have a D&D group every Monday at the Kids Peace Center in Bethlehem, where where we do that, and we're learning social skills. I remember one summer we went to the movies. We went out to eat one place. We were learning how to socialize in different environments.
So I can answer your question for you, and that is, for starters, the easiest way to figure this out, and I'm probably pretty certain you've already done this, Google it. Google has everything, so it's probably on Google. If you can't find it on Google, I'm going to give you an answer, and that is find other people, the other people who have the same interests as you, and start a group. That's just find, put up a sign on a bulletin board with those little tabs, and see how many get pulled off. Just have a number that they call, and that's just what I would do. Just see how many, and have them call a number, be for as they say, D&D. If you want to play D&D, and it's Dungeons and Dragons Club starting today or whatever, or in 2 months, and however many get pulled, that's how many people are interested. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's.
Was a model here? Yeah. So.
Joshua, can you bring back the microphone?
Sorry, Josh. Sorry, Josh. You're okay.
Oh, yeah.
Josh he's doing laps.
Did you want me to?
Well, here, and quickly while we're waiting on the mic, I did want to say that Ben had a really good idea, and just to add to that, pick the thing that interests you, gentlemen in the back, and put a sign up or something like that, and start small in that way. But at least it's something that interests you as well, and you might find there's a lot of people that have this very similar interest.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Actually, at LTRC, there is bulletin boards all around the different areas where people do put up things. I remember specifically seeing a Dungeons and Dragons thing. Hey, on this day, anyone who's interested in playing Dungeons and Dragons, come to this place and we'll do this.
So, and Liesel's not wrong. The other thing I would say is, and I'll talk to what Seth was trying to say too, that student life at a lot of campuses, if you're interested in making a club or starting a group, the place to go would be to student life or student affairs on your campus. Seth kind of mentioned Penn State. There's a program here at main campus that was started by a student on a whim because she wanted to start a group for students with disabilities on main campus here. I guess it's University Park. Am I right? Okay. And it's called Wings. And I'll be honest, I don't know, Seth, if it still exists. But when it does, it still does. So she started that as herself and 2 other people, and it exploded to have tons of students with disabilities on campus doing social events. They actually did a town hall meeting with LVCIL, with Seth, that's how he knows, and they got tons of people to come do this conversation about advocacy and support on campus. And so a lot of it could just be you asking student life, saying, or student affairs, I want to do this. How can I make this happen? And they're literally there to help support you. But also, these lovely folks are not wrong. Reaching out to people and having people sign up, or having people that are into things that you're into get together and then go together, it shows the college that you have other people that are into this, and that starting a club like that would be beneficial to more people than they could ever have thought of.
Okay, we're down to our final question. So does anyone in the
last
audience
question.
have a final question?
I feel like there's so much pressure.
Chris does, apparently. He didn't raise his hand, but he's waving.
Chris has a question?
Yeah, right in the middle of the gray shirt, collar, next to Seth.
Sorry, Chris, I couldn't see you.
No, he was just doing the little thing.
My name is Chris Grandy, and I'm from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. High school, I heard all of you saying that high school is basic, cursive writing, math, social studies, and all that. That is all high school work. But when you're up here, that is not what you do up here in college. College work is more like sociology and everything else that goes with that. But I'm just saying, college work is not like high school like we all had before. And it's not all fun and games, but I'm about to attend this university. And I want to take all these courses up here, but not high school work. High school work is fun and games, but when you're up here, this work up here is more university style, like hard, basic work. And that's what I need more, like everybody else in this room will ever have. And I also want to attend the marching band, because I was in marching band in high school. I would like to do that too. But when you get to the clubs, like football and all the other stuff, but you got to pass the courses up here to get the grades to make the team, or the football or the band. You need the grades to get like straight A's to get this work up here, but then we did in high school.
I think Chris makes a great point, and I think all our panel members up front here make a great echo that point. Chris, is that it's important to challenge folks and to raise that bar up. I was just talking to Seth about this earlier today. That we want to make sure that we don't set that bar too low. That we want to allow students to have the opportunity to raise themselves up and to see, not the fun and games anymore, but hey, that there is another level of expectation and need. And, all of these 3 students have certainly done that in so many different ways, and not just academics. I mean, college is not just all about A's and B's either. It's about the social connections. It's about learning how to navigate your environment. It's about learning how to navigate these social things and social innuendos and all of that kind of thing. And, those are the goals that we have definitely seen so many of these folks, achieve together. As you can tell with the camaraderie just up front here, how much they rely on each other and how much they do together to help move them forward in the goals that they've set for themselves. And when they fall down, they pick each other up and they encourage each other, and they really are concerned and want to make sure that they're moving each other forward. Any final parting words, panel?
Nope, nope. I got nothing.
You only really get anything out of college is what you put into it, and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it.
That's smart.
I think we have a code. I think there's a code that we need to get out.
Yep, there's a code, and that's from the gentleman. I don't have the code, he does.